So I've been thinking about this subject for a while, pretty much all my life. So I'm going to be discussing with you how to be a good queer ally. Queer technically does include trans, but I am cisgender. It's not my place to tell you how to be a trans ally when I'm not trans. There are many awesome how to be a trans ally videos on YouTube that you should check out that are made by trans people. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on queer sexuality in this video because that is what I am. I'm so bad at this. So look, I think this might come as a shock to some of you, but the number one foremost way to take the steps toward being a good queer ally is you can't decide that you're a good ally. It is bottom line. It just strips away any meaningful layers that the word ally could have to the queer community. Queer people who want allies are looking for people who don't claim that they're allies without having like any contact with queer people, more specifically their ideas of what makes this person a good or bad ally. You can't barge into a queer person's life and demand that they acknowledge that you're an ally, because you're not an ally if you do that. A straight person told me that they were an ally, not a phobic. Okay! I'm glad we got that cleared up. I'm glad I have no say in this. It's not up for you to decide. You can call yourself an ally once you have reached that point, but it's not like a club that you can just enter on your own admission. It takes a lot more than just deciding that you're an ally and ending there. It's not just being friends with a queer person. It's not just having met one in elementary school once. It's not being a fan of Lady Gaga. So going from there, it's important to realize that not all queer people feel that they need allies. When people say, you wouldn't exist if not for me, your movement wouldn't be this far, queer allies are what makes the queer community so loved and appreciated at this point in history. Please do not say that. You sound like an abusive parent. Another way you can be a good queer ally is to respect the person's identity. This includes sticking with what they told you their identity was. For example, if I told someone that I was queer and they decided that I was a lesbian, that might be a little bothersome to some people. Of course, not all queer people, because we're all different, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. Gay does not mean queer. A lot of people like to substitute one for the other, but they're not really the same. More info on that is in my So What is Queer Anyway video. Some queer people do not want you speaking up for them in a situation where someone may assume that you're straight or assume that you're gay or lesbian or specifically something that you didn't say you were. Anything that you think that your queer friend might be offended by and want you to speak up for them, take a step back and think. If they are not mad in this situation, then you don't need to speak up for them. You are not the parade of straight people coming in and rescuing us. We don't need that kind of noise. Related to that, you're not our spokespeople, you're not our publicists, so you don't get to say how we feel about a certain thing or that we were born this way. I honestly feel kind of uncomfortable talking as if I'm coming from the viewpoint of all queer people, so I don't know how straight people think they can pull off just talking about the whole queer community as if it's like in the palm of their hand. Do not assume that because a queer woman, like myself, personal experience, just because we are attracted to women does not mean that we are going to find every woman everywhere attractive. The amount of times this has happened to me, where I'll be watching a movie or something and there's a woman on the screen, just any woman, and a straight friend will turn to me and go, "She's hot, huh? Don't you just want to bang her? Oh my god, I have such a girl crush on her." It's creepy! No, I don't want to sleep with every woman. Not every queer person is sexual anyway. I think my hair is deflating, but it's okay because it was a symbol of my conformity to the man. You need to watch how you phrase things. For example, which is something I just mentioned, girl crush. Stop. No. It's really just a more acceptable version of no homo. No homo asserts that you can say anything that is remotely homoerotic. You can pass off as straight because no homo. Girl crush or man crush, it's really just like, well, I would have a crush on them if I wasn't straight. You should not preface your pro-queer statuses, posts, tweets, or anything with, "I'm straight, but..." This is why many people are not a fan of the organization Straight But Not Narrow. What are you... No, I know exactly what you're trying to say. You need to put a disclaimer that you're straight in case someone, God forbid, could think you were queer. And yeah, that might be not what you're intending, but I'm telling you that that's what it comes off as. Don't bring up our sexualities every time you hang out with us. It's not a constant thing that we need to be talking about. So, how have those ladies been? So, how's your sex life? Another good way to start being a good queer ally is to simply learn for yourself. This includes checking out women's studies books from the library. This includes reading memoirs of queer people. This includes Googling. There's so much you can learn. Don't demand to be educated by queer people. It's not our job to educate you. There are some queer people who will educate you, but it's not their job. If a queer person decides that they want to tell you some things in order to educate you about the community, feel grateful and listen. Out of all the many conversations I've had with other queer people about being a good ally, the number one thing is really listen. Yes, you have a bigger voice, so don't fuck it up. We are not your toys, we are not your cuties, we are not your sugar plum fairies. We are all extremely different, we are not a stereotype, and we are not your gay best friend. The amount of times I've heard, I really want a gay best friend, I really want a lesbian best friend, I really want a trans friend. Are we pets? Are we at the kennel? What do you think this is? I am a human being, I am not... You... No! To think that some of my straight friends might think that without voicing it is really uncomfortable. Please don't be like, that's so cool, you're like fighting, homophobia. No, you don't get to decide for us that it's cool. Point out homophobia and heterosexism. The terms are slightly different, and a lot of people prefer heterosexism. Well, one, homophobia is not a real phobia, so a lot of people with genuine phobias are like, are you kidding me? Heterosexism is a system of discrimination that favors opposite sex relationships and couples and anything else? Nope. Heterosexism encompasses a lot more day-to-day assumptions and statements and little remarks that uphold the system of our heteronormative society. It is your job as a queer ally, if your queer friends are not present, if someone says something that is heterosexist, then it would be quite nice if you would say something. Another thing to keep in mind is that we are human beings. We have a full range of emotions. If you are talking about queer people and you're like, I knew this queer person once, she was so angry, and it just turned me off from wanting to help any of them. What you're saying is we have to be perfect little happy princesses at all times and never ever get mad because, of course, we're not human. And if we do sound any kind of rude, well, say goodbye to that ally. If you're going to be more offended by being called out than you are by oppression, you were never an ally to begin with. Don't out people. Don't. No matter what their identity is, do not out them. People will message other people on Facebook, try to be secretive about it, being like, hey, is Tianna gay? She gay? She gay? No, I won't tell her that you said anything. Is she? A response to that should be, well, how about you ask Tianna herself? This is another reason why you shouldn't speak up on behalf of queer people in a situation where people assume that they're straight, because it might be dangerous for them to come out. Why do you ask a straight person randomly how they have sex? Do not say that we are too pretty to be gay. I think that's about it. I know this video is kind of long. I am going to go now, so I hope you learned something. See you soon.